It just seems like yesterday when Brandon and I came to town and we were looking for places that we could minister and make a difference. And we heard about Children's Harbor. We heard about, children with, different challenges, whether it be heart or burn or cancer or, all the different things that blood disorder. And the thought that these kids could go to camp just like my kids could go to camp. And that sometimes their parents could actually come with them and they could be in a safe space. They can enjoy beautiful Lake Martin. We're like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. This is exactly where we want to be. Who knew that 10 or 11 years later or so, we'd be at about $1.25 million to Children's Harbor from the Bruce Pearl Foundation. And obviously it's because of the support of all of our donors and all of our friends that come here and play in this event and support our foundation. And by the way, he's got a little head that sits on top of his shoulders. He's got these big shoulders, but his head I like those guys. Like guys that are 6'7" with short heads, they're actually 6'8" or 6'9". It's those 6'9" guys with the big hair and the long necks and the big head, they're actually 6'7". The last three coaches that he played for said he was like my favorite, like one of my favorite student athletes, one of my favorite teammates, one of my favorite kids, hard worker. And what I was looking to try to do is really complement that front line with Dylan and Janai and Cheney. Those are three seniors that are good, that are going to play. And I wanted to bring somebody that wasn't afraid to compete with them, but that wasn't going to be, feel like they were entitled. Turtle knows he's going to play every night. What kind of role he's going to play, that's going to be up to those four. But it's just sort of the right fit. And so really excited about what he brings. He brings some toughness to it. He can get downhill. He can shoot the three ball a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see this off season. And this summer is so important for our guys right now. Because this is when you change. This is when you change your body. This is when Chad Baker goes from 178. Can he get to 188? Can he get 10 good ones? We can't get that in the fall. He could get it in the summer. And so these next 8 weeks are really, really important for our team as we start really just right after Memorial Day getting after it. And so, again, with Turtle, it's going to be interesting to see what the kind of training we do, what that could bring out in him. I think that's the last piece is one more impactful guard. If you think about what we've lost, losing Aiden and Trey, KD, and then Lior, you lose 4 guards. And, let me see. Yeah, that's it right there. And what have we brought in? We brought in JP, Tahad, and Jakai. And so really need one more guy that has a chance to compete. And it really doesn't matter for me which position it's going to be, whether it be a 1-2, a 2-1, a 2-3, a 3-2, doesn't really matter. But it'll be one more guard. And we've tried to be really patient to try to get the right fit. We're involved with a couple of really good ones. And I can't believe it's middle of May and we're still not done recruiting. But that's what the combination of NIL and transfer portal have done.
And as a freshman?
Well, I think both Jakai and Tahad are capable of, as freshmen, of contributing. The jump from high school to college basketball is enormous, and especially enormous when we're going to play a non-conference schedule. Some of it's been released, some of it you guys have heard about, but it's not been released yet, and so you're holding off on reporting it, but you've heard about it. We're going to have the toughest non-conference schedule that we've ever had, and when we get those contracts signed and things done, we'll get that to you. That's going to be hard on those freshmen to come in. But both Tahad and Jakai are confident. They're prepared. They've been challenged at the highest level. And those guys know that their job is to come in and contribute, make a difference. But unlike a roster that could have 7 or 8 seniors on it, some of those guys are going to be guys that I hope and look at this as more than just a one-year deal. For my seniors, it's a one-year deal. For my freshmen, for a couple of the underclassmen, it's a 2 or a 3 or a 4-year deal. I mean, Jakai is very athletic. His offense is ahead of his defense, and yet I think he could become a great defensive guard because he got the length, he got the athletic ability. It's just never been a huge focus for him. He's improved his 3-ball, and of course he's a human highlight reel.
What was that process like, re-recruiting him and bringing him back?
Janai wanted to be back. Janai Broom wanted to be back. His family wanted him to be back. he just recognized that two things. One, I don't think the issue, like for me, I had said to Cheney, here are your three options. Your options are go ahead and declare for the draft again, go work out. He probably knew what that was going to look like, even in not a strong draft, and he probably was looking at a second-round situation, a two-way contract, whatever that would be. I said your second option is to get the transfer portal, and your third option is to come back. He said, Coach, the transfer portal is not an option for me. So really there are only two options. And the NBA option was not an option that he wanted to explore right now. He had done that. Even though he had a better year, his draft stock needle did not move. Cheney is going to have to, and players like Cheney are going to have to get on a team and play their way onto a roster as opposed to being drafted high and thinking about what that potential is all about. And I think Cheney and his agent and his team really realized it. And as far as being in the transfer portal, that just wasn't an option for him or his family. They just wanted to be able to be treated fairly, and I think that the collective treated him fairly, and we're really glad to have him back.
What stood out to you? Stood out about JP and how excited are you about bringing him in?
I mean, I think for JP, it was the fact that he had experience, the fact that he'd been a 3-year starter, the fact that he could really shoot the ball, they could play out of ball screens. He was a really good defender with a chance to be better. And because we had played against Furman in a preseason exhibition game, he knew the pace, he knew the way our guys played, and so that gave us a little bit of an edge, I think, when it came to actually recruiting him.
What do you think Cheney is going to have an increased role?
Yeah, I mean, I think Cheney gives us some flexibility. I think Cheney, while he's demonstrated he could play 4-5, could he play a little big 3? Possibly. If we play some zone, or I think he could do it defensively. The issue is going to be, we're better with him on the floor because he's an efficient scorer both inside and out. He can guard both the positions. I think as he tries to do a little bit more, the question will be will his assist turnover ratio be good? He's a good passer, not a great passer. And so as he has the ball in his hands more, is he able to be as productive without turning the ball over? And that's just going to take a summer of putting it in his hands and letting him actually make some mistakes this summer, letting him be really aggressive with the ball, kick it around a little bit so that he gets more comfortable with it.
Coming back, what can he add?
Well, again, Dylan the same way. I mean, again, Dylan goes in the transfer portal. He's one of the most sought-after centers in college basketball because he already is the best or one of the best defensive centers in college basketball. So, for us, defensively, we could be really, really good next year. Older and tough and physical, and we just got to do a better job of guarding without fouling. We can't foul Yale 25 times and expect to win in an NCAA tournament game. By the way, I'm still stuck on that. In case you hadn't noticed, I'll be stuck on it all year long. I'll be talking about Yale all fall, and so we got to own it. But I think we can be really good defensively. Where Dylan's going to try to do is stretch his game out a little bit, be willing to do more offensively. That's really on him. And he's such a good kid and he's such a productive player that he only is going to want to do it if his efficiencies are high. When you are in an Auburn offense that I feel like we do a nice job, our offensive efficiencies are pretty good. We value the ball, we value possessions, and so therefore sometimes guys don't want to do what they're not great at because they know it may not be as efficient, and they know that if we turn this down, it's going to be a better shot for Denver, it's going to be a better shot for somebody else. Dylan needs to be a little bit more aggressive, and I think we'll be better and he'll be better with that.
With having Denver and Chad both back.
Well, I think having Denver and Chad is a real positive, and then getting JP is really, it gives us 3 really good guards. But I feel like we absolutely need one more, but I like it. Our guard play overall last year, I think, was somewhere in the middle of the league. I thought our front line play was somewhere near the top of the league. Our guard play has to improve. I think you're going to see Denver move around a little bit and put the ball in Denver's hands a little bit more, and he may play some point guard, which I think is going to open up some more time at the 2 and open up some more time at that 2 and 3 spot. And Chad Baker needs to have a great summer. He needs to continue to work on his body and look at himself. I look at Chad as a pro. I look at him as he's the body type of what they're all looking for. That 6'7", 6'8", guard any position, but he's got to get a little bigger and a little stronger to be able to stand the pounding. And obviously, you know, he takes a lot of hits, and he's a target for a lot of extracurricular stuff out there.
How do you use it for motivation?
Yeah, it's just something we have to live with, something we have to own. You know, it's something that's going to, you know, stick in our craw. I will tell our fans this realistically. You know, we should have beaten Yale. We could have, and then perhaps could have gotten San Diego State, or maybe should have. We would have liked to have gotten a UConn. I don't know that, you know, keeping the Yale loss in perspective, it may have only meant 2 more wins. UConn was, you know, maybe one of the best teams historically. They were a dominating champion, and so it would have been hard to beat them in the Sweet 16. That'd have been a really tough matchup. So putting that in perspective, the Yale loss cost us a couple of wins and an opportunity to go play UConn. UConn was better than everybody, and maybe by a long shot.
You mentioned Memorial.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. While the reason why Tahad's not a point guard right now is because he's such a good scorer and a good shooter, and I just don't think putting the responsibility of making him not only make the adjustment of going from high school to college, but then making the adjustment of putting the ball in his hands full time would be something that wouldn't be as good for him. At the same time, I definitely see him coming in and competing for minutes at the 1. If I wind up taking another guy that's a 2 or a 3. If we take another 2-1, then, you know, he'll be right where he is. But if we do take a wing, then I think that he'll, by virtue of his size, be put in a position where he'll play both positions. Absolutely.